You are standing in a room that feels less like a gym and more like a pressure cooker. It is late 1964. We are on Broadway in Oakland, California, but the world outside has ceased to exist. The windows of this small studio are completely steamed up from body heat. The air is heavy, thick with the smell of stale sweat, dried liniment, and fear. In the center of the room, history is about to fracture. We are looking at a confrontation that will last barely 3 minutes, but the critical moment, the split second that changes fighting forever, hasn't happened yet. It is looming in the air, invisible. It is the moment a young man stops fighting an opponent and starts fighting a pattern. If he misses this specific beat, even by a fraction of a second, he loses everything: his school, his reputation, his right to teach, and he knows it. But to understand why the air in this room is so suffocating, you have to look at the sidelines. Lining the walls are the gatekeepers, the elders from Chinatown. They stand with their arms folded, dressed in traditional robes, their faces unreadable. They radiate the weight of 1,000 years of lineage. To them, martial arts is not a sport. It is a sacred inheritance, a fortress that must be protected from outsiders. And their champion, standing calm and composed in the center of the mat, is the embodiment of that fortress. He moves with the predictability of a pendulum. He is confident that structure beats chaos. He believes in the perfection of the form. On the other side is Bruce. And this is not the Bruce Lee you know from the movies. He is not a global icon yet. He is 24 years old. He is not wearing a uniform or traditional robes. He is in a cheap tracksuit, vibrating with nervous, frantic energy. He looks less like a master and more like a street fighter who has been backed into a corner. And in a way, he has. The terms of this fight are absolute. A scroll was delivered to this studio just days earlier. It was a formal challenge, polite but lethal. The ultimatum was simple. The elders were furious that Bruce was teaching kung fu to non-Chinese students, to white guys, to black guys, to anyone with a pulse and a desire to learn. The elders called it a betrayal of secrets. Bruce called it evolution. So the wager was set. If Bruce loses this fight, he closes his doors immediately. No more teaching, no more modernizing. He packs his bags and he disappears. He becomes a footnote. The room goes silent. You can hear the wooden floorboards creak under the shifting weight of the men. There is no referee, there are no rounds, there are no rules other than stop when the other man can't continue. The fight begins, and immediately it goes wrong. If you are expecting a choreographed movie scene, you would be shocked by the reality of it. It is ugly, it is frantic, it is messy. Bruce explodes forward, aggressive, trying to end it in seconds. But the traditionalist doesn't engage. He retreats, he uses the space, he circles. Bruce is chasing him. He is literally running across the room, swinging wild, trying to land a heavy blow on a ghost. The sheer cardio of the moment begins to drain him. He is swinging at the air, wasting precious energy, his breathing becoming ragged and loud in the quiet room. The elders on the sidelines begin to smirk. They exchange glances. They see exactly what is happening. Bruce is playing their game. He is trying to overpower a fortress with bare hands. He is fighting with anger, while his opponent is fighting with geometry. Minute 1 passes, then minute 2. The sweat is pouring off Bruce's face. His tracksuit is soaked. His lungs are burning. He lands a punch, but it lacks snap because he's off balance. He tries to kick, but the traditionalist simply steps out of range, maintaining that perfect, frustrating distance. The atmosphere in the room shifts from tension to judgment. The traditionalist is comfortable. He is moving to a hidden metronome. 1, 2, block, retreat. 1, 2, block, retreat. It is a rhythm. It is a hypnotic, safe, structured rhythm designed to tire out a wild animal. And right now, Bruce is the animal. He is trapped in the very thing he hates, a pattern. Bruce realizes, in a flash of panic, that his training has failed him. All the forms, all the drills, all the wooden dummy practice, none of it prepared him for a man who simply refuses to stand still and fight. He is winning the aggression, but he is losing the war. He is exhausted, and if this goes another 2 minutes, his legs will give out. The smirk on the elders' faces widens. They believe the lesson is being taught. They believe the upstart is learning his place. But then something happens in Bruce's eyes, a shift. He stops chasing. He stops swinging. He stands still for a microsecond, chest heaving, staring at his opponent. He stops looking at the man's fists and starts looking at the man's time. He notices something nobody else in the room sees. The traditionalist isn't just moving, he is resetting. Every time he blocks, there is a tiny, invisible pause. A beat, a rhythm. Tick, tock, block. Tick, tock, move. It's a comfort zone. The opponent is safe inside that rhythm. He feels protected by the tempo of tradition. Bruce realizes that he doesn't need to be stronger. He doesn't need to run faster. He realizes that the man across from him is a slave to a cadence, and that is where the trap lies. Bruce narrows his eyes. He's about to do something that goes against every rule of traditional engagement. He isn't going to wait for an opening in the guard. He is going to attack the rhythm itself. He is going to step into the and between the 1 and the 2. He coils his body, the nervous energy suddenly focusing into a single laser-like point. The chaotic brawler disappears, and a surgeon appears. He waits for the reset. He waits for that half-second gap where the opponent's brain is comfortable, where the traditionalist thinks he is safe for just a moment before the next movement. The smirk vanishes from the elders' faces. The air in the room seemingly drops 10 degrees. They don't know what Bruce sees, but they feel the danger. Bruce steps in, but this time he doesn't swing wild. He launches a straight blast, a chain of punches straight down the center line, ignoring the perimeter, ignoring the block, driving straight through the rhythm. He breaks the tempo. It's not just an attack, it's a disruption of time. The traditionalist's brain freezes. The pattern is broken. The pendulum is shattered. What happens in the next 10 seconds is not a fight, it is a demolition. But it leads to a moment that is even more confusing than the brawl itself. Because when the dust settles and the challenger yields, the room goes dead silent. But Bruce isn't celebrating. He isn't cheering. He looks furious. He looks disgusted. Why? He just saved his career. He just defeated the champion of the old guard. He just secured his right to teach the world. He should be ecstatic. But as he stands over his opponent, winded, gasping for air, looking down at his own trembling hands, Bruce Lee realizes something terrifying. He realizes that winning isn't enough. He realizes that for 3 minutes, he was a slave to the mess. He realizes that the style he spent his life learning almost cost him everything. He won the fight, but he lost his faith. And weeks later, sitting alone at his desk in the dark, analyzing that chaos, he makes a decision that will alienate him even further. He decides that the victory meant nothing. He decides to abandon the very martial art that saved him. He takes a blank piece of paper, and he writes down a thought that will become a philosophy. He realizes that style is just a fancy word for a trap, and he begins to formulate a new way, a way of no way. But to understand the true cost of that realization, we have to look at what happened next. Because defeating a man in a gym is one thing, defeating an entire culture's way of thinking, that is a war that never truly ends. And it forces a question on us right now. Where are you repeating a pattern just because it's comfortable? Where are you moving to a rhythm that makes you predictable? Bruce Lee found the fatal rhythm in his opponent, but the real battle was finding it in himself. That specific night, the studio on Broadway is dark, but Bruce isn't sleeping. He is running the tape of the fight over and over in his mind, like a film reel stuck on a loop, and the more he watches it, the more he hates it. Most men would be popping champagne. He had just defended his honor. He had silenced the critics, but Bruce is gripped by a cold, terrifying realization that sits in his gut like a stone. He realizes that for 3 minutes, he was inefficient. He was winded. He was reacting to the other man's rules instead of imposing his own reality. He looks at his hands. They are swollen. He looks at his legs. They are tired. And he asks himself the question that changes everything. Why did it take me 3 minutes to defeat a man I should have beaten in 3 seconds? The answer wasn't a lack of speed. It wasn't a lack of power. It was the rhythm. Bruce grabs a notebook. This is the moment the martial artist dies and the philosopher is born. He starts scribbling furiously. He realizes that the traditionalist he fought was playing music. Block, strike, pause. Block, strike, pause. It was predictable. It was safe. And Bruce realizes that he had been trying to dance to that same music, just faster. But faster isn't the answer. Broken rhythm is the answer. He writes down a concept that will alienate him from the entire martial arts community. He decides that style is nothing more than crystallized fear. When you adopt a style, whether it's karate, kung fu, or boxing, you are agreeing to limit yourself. You are agreeing to move only in the ways that style permits. You are handing your opponent a blueprint of exactly how you function. Bruce decides right then and there to burn the blueprint. In the weeks that follow, the students who come to the Oakland studio notice a change. Bruce stops teaching the forms. He stops teaching the rigid, beautiful movements that look good in movies. Instead, he starts teaching them how to be shapeless. He tells them to be like water. Now you've heard that quote a million times on coffee mugs and t-shirts. Be water, my friend. It sounds peaceful, it sounds gentle. But in 1964, in that sweaty gym, it wasn't peaceful. It was a declaration of war against tradition. Water doesn't have a rhythm. Water doesn't have a stance. If you pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you punch water, you don't hurt it. You just get wet. Bruce realized that if he could move without a pattern, if he could exist in the half-beats between the opponent's thoughts, he would be untouchable. He calls this new approach Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. But he hates the name almost as soon as he creates it. He warns his students, don't treat this as a style. It is a boat to get you across the river. Once you get across, burn the boat. This is the second twist of the story. The victory in Oakland didn't make Bruce Lee arrogant, it made him humble. He realized that the man he fought, the man who represented everything he opposed, had actually given him the greatest gift of his life. That messy, ugly, chaotic brawl exposed the flaw in the system. Without that struggle, Bruce would have remained just another talented instructor teaching outdated moves. The resistance didn't destroy him, it refined him. Years pass. Bruce explodes into global stardom. He becomes the most famous face on the planet. He moves with a grace that seems almost supernatural. But if you look closely at the footage of him in his prime, in Enter the Dragon or Way of the Dragon, you can see the ghost of that Oakland fight. Watch him. He never moves in a strict 1-2 rhythm. He is always breaking the tempo. He speeds up, he slows down, he freezes. He is fighting the expectations of the audience just as much as he is fighting the stuntmen. He is showing us what honest self-expression looks like, but the tragedy is that most people only watch the punches. They missed the lesson. They idolized the fighter and ignored the philosophy. They tried to copy his moves, creating a Bruce Lee style, completely missing the point that the whole objective was to have no style. And this brings us to the silence of your own room. The screen goes dark. The fight is over. But the question remains. You are not fighting a kung fu master in Oakland, but you are fighting something. And chances are you are losing the same way Bruce almost did. Where are you stuck in a rhythm that isn't yours? Look at your career. Are you following a script written by someone else? Go to school, get the job, wait for the promotion, retire. 1-2 block pause, it's a safe rhythm. It feels comfortable. But are you winning or are you just tiring yourself out chasing a ghost? Look at your relationships. Are you repeating the same arguments, the same reactions, the same defensive patterns you learned 10 years ago? You're moving to a metronome that was set by your parents, or your ex, or your insecurity. You're fighting the pattern, but you aren't breaking it. Bruce Lee teaches us that the only way to truly win is to stop playing the game by the old rules. You have to find the and. You have to find that split second where everyone else is resetting, where everyone else is waiting for permission, and you have to launch your straight blast. It requires a terrifying amount of honesty. It requires you to admit that the style you've built your life around, your persona, your title, your social standing, might just be a trap. Winning isn't about overpowering the world. It's about stripping away everything that isn't you. It is about efficiency. It is about truth. So, tomorrow morning, when you step into your own arena, don't just ask yourself if you can win. Ask yourself if you are fighting a live battle, or if you are just rehearsing a dead pattern. Because the moment you stop fighting the rhythm and start becoming the water, that is the moment you become dangerous. That is the moment you become free.